Hi, welcome to mastercook. This is a large recipe database program that's used in hospitality and tourism courses in conjunction with the On Cooking Cookbook. I'm just going to add that I'm using Screencast-O-Matic to make this little screencast for you for this presentation, so I've taught myself how to use this as well as go into this software to try and figure out how this stuff works. I have a very old recipe manager made by Mastercook from years and years ago. It's a very old version, but this one's very much updated and has a lot of new features in it. So I'm going to get into it and start showing you how to do things. If you go to cookbooks here, this is our first thing. If you click on it, it'll open up a whole bunch of different cookbooks that you can possibly choose from. This has got thousands and thousands and thousands of recipes in it. But it's not necessarily the amount of recipes that's important, is what you can do with them. So we're going to take one for example here and just kind of work with it, and then we're going to start talking about some of the features that we can use. So we go into, say, choose hot off the grill, this one right here. I'll double click on that and it can see that it can bring up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recipes. I'm just going to choose the first one here. So I'll double click on that. This is Alaska salmon and grilled vegetable lasagna. So as you can see, it's just a regular standard old recipe. It's got your ingredient list here, your directions down here. If you take a look over on the left hand side of the screen, it gives you the number of servings, it'll give you categories, it'll give you the source, internet address from where it comes from. So that's all really good. Gives credit where credit is due. I'm going to move the screen back over here. I'm doing this in HD, so it doesn't cover my whole screen, but I'm trying to keep it high quality so you can read everything. The important thing here are these toggles down on the right hand side here. So if you look at the first one here, this one says new. That's actually for writing recipes, so we'll get to that in a few minutes. This one down here is look up links to tips, and that is the same as this link down in the very bottom here. And we'll go to that in a few minutes as well. This one here, select recipe out of the recipe browser. Well, we just did that, so we're not going to worry too much about that right now. This is the edit button, so you can click on edit. You can go into the recipe, you can change things up however you want to, and say you've made it before and it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, you think you can tweak it on your own. So go in there, change up the ingredient or change up some of the procedures and do whatever you like to make it your own and tweak it the way you want it. If you go into the next button here, this is add to shopping, favorites, or menu. So if I click on that, it'll give you the three little options up here. So say I want to make a menu. So if I click on the menu tab, I can say, okay, well, I want a new menu here. I'll press OK. And I'm going to say I'm going to make this for Tuesday night. Apparently I'm having a dinner party. So I'm going to press OK. Boom. That puts that into that menu for me that I just created. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. This one here is your scale recipe. This one's really important, especially in the restaurant industry, because a lot of the times you have to take a recipe and scale it up or down depending on how much you need to make for however many people are coming. This recipe was actually originally for 4. So what I want to do is I'll say, okay, I want to make this. This is for 40. It showed on the screen here. So let's say I want to make it for 4 people instead of 40. So I press. From 40, I press to 4, I press OK, and as you can see on the left hand side here, all the ingredients have scaled down to serve 4 people instead of 40. That takes away any human error, which is pretty important, especially when you're starting to get into baking and things are really, really precise. It's very scientific. The next button down here is you check your spelling. That's when you're making recipes for yourself, and that's pretty self-explanatory, so we don't really need to get into that. The next one is nutritional analysis. This is pretty important. So when you click on that, it'll give you a little disclaimer when it comes up. It'll say, okay, Mastercook has recognized some of the ingredients that are in this recipe, and it's going to assume that when it says eggplant, it's going to think whole eggplant. When it sees zucchini, it's going to mean whole zucchini, and that's what they base their nutritional analysis on. The last thing it's going to do is it's going to say, so for more accurate analysis, it's going to say use the weights to enter your ingredients in a recipe. And that's really important when you're in a restaurant, because it is just more accurate to be able to weigh things instead of actually use cups and imperial. It's better to use metric. Same with anything else nowadays, everything's metric anyway. So if I press OK, it'll bring up all the nutritional analysis for one of these portions out of this lasagna. It'll give me my percentages, but that's based on 2,000 calories, so that's more for a man. So if I say, okay, well, what if I want for a lady? They're usually around 1,800 calories. So I put 1,800 calories in there, and I click on the percentage daily value base, and that changes all the percentages up. So now you know how much your daily caloric intake and nutritional analysis is for the lady. So that's a really good little feature there, and that's really good when you start getting into nutrition and you know, kinesiology and diets and being a dietitian. Next button down here is import recipes and export recipes and email. So I can import from my old program. Like I said, I have an old one that I'm really working on trying to get the recipes into this new program. I have to get a hold of them because they're still in my old place of work. So I haven't done it yet. I'll let you know how it goes. The next is to email. So if I wanted to mail, then I could put in my my email. So I've got my name in here, my email address, my server's name, SMTP. So I can email out the recipe if I want to. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's an option. The next one here is print. You can print or publish, and you can see you can have it in different formats. One-sided, you can have it side by side, up and down. So you can change things around a little bit if you want. If you want to go in and edit the design, you can go and you can start dropping pictures in here. As you can see over here, I actually dropped one in here. There's a little picture of a salmon in there that I got off the internet. So you can do that if you like. I'm going to go back, and that's basically it for that little recipe. The next button down here is for the open up the mastercook website, and you can click on that, and it'll, like I said, bring you to the home site of mastercook, and they're just going to try and sell you some more cookbooks, or make the, you know, say, oh, look at my blog. So you could read their blog, and you could sign in, you can become a member, and you can get supports. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do, but it's just pretty much a standard website. We'll get out of that. Okay, so remember I said earlier on that there's look up for links and tips. So say you're reading through your recipe here and you're going, okay, salmon, yeah, I got that. Lasagna, yeah, I got that. Marinara sauce, well, I don't know what that is. So if you go to tips, it's over on the right or it's down here. If I click on tips, and you can see, I'm going to move the screen over a little bit, that this panel comes up on the left hand side, and it's got all of this stuff that you could possibly imagine in here. So if I was to just let's get rid of this here. If I would put in marinara sauce, there. So I put in marinara, it automatically comes up and gives me the definition. It's right there. So that's pretty convenient. The other thing you can do is they've got lots of different techniques in here. So if I was say I saw it earlier, adding oil to a pan. So here we are, adding oil to a pan, and they've got a little bit of a video embedded in here. So I could click on the video, and
it is important to have the oil in the pan preheated before adding any ingredients. The food will absorb too much oil if it is not sizzling when.
So as you can see that they've got these little technique videos embedded in here that you can use. So these are all really useful things, and really thousands upon thousands of things that you can choose from. So that's why this is such a great program. It's so comprehensive. Okay, so let's go back into cookbooks here. Double click on that. You can see I've got my cookbook in here. So if I click on my cookbook, you can see that I've already started putting a couple of recipes in here that I've started to just type in the last little while, just for an example here. If I want to press new, it'll bring up a new recipe here for me. So I could put in, say, I don't know, I want to do burger, B-U-R-G-E-R, description, let's see, made from ground beef. Sure. You can put in the servings that I want. Let's say 10. Let's say my yield amount per unit. So I want 6 ounce burgers. So I've got 6, and I go over here and I go ounce. And as I start typing, ounce will come up. I click on that, and then that's good. So then I can go in here and I can start saying, okay, well, if I need 6 ounce burgers and I need 10 of them, then I'm going to need 60 ounces of beef. So I go 60, and I start typing ounce. and as you can see, it starts coming up with the different options. Ingredients, I want to say ground, but I don't want ground beef because the best thing to use for ground for hamburgers is actually ground chuck. It comes from a different area. So if I start typing in chuck, and there's an offer, it's already in there, so you know that they've got the nutritional analysis for it as well. Preparation, well, I want this fresh ground. See, it's already, when you start typing it in, it already comes up with the idea. So you can start going through it, add all the rest of your ingredients that you have in there. Then you go down into your directions, and I want to say, okay, well, I'm going to put the beef in the bowl, and so on and so forth. And I can go into the notes and I can say, okay, well, you know, don't add too much sweet stuff to it or it'll burn. And, you know, little things that you can make notes of in just to make the recipe better. Categories, I can make it. I can put it into whatever category I can choose from. You know, there's a drop-down menu here that you can just start making your own. Serving ideas. You can say, okay, I'm going to serve it with chips and a nice glass of Chardonnay. I don't know. Anyway, so it goes on and on. Time, more info, nutrition. So it gives you the nutrition because I've already got 60 ounces of ground chuck in there. So it'll tell you what all the stuff is that is in that. So that's good. Okay, let's go back. I'm not going to save this. Let's go back into this one here. I've already started this pizza dough one. So as you can see, I've got some notes over on the left-hand side here. I've got all of my ingredients in here in metric, not in imperial. And I've got all my directions down here. So if I'm going to move the screen over a touch here so you can see it. And I'm going to click on the edit button. And it'll bring this screen up here. So now I can get in here and I can tweak this if I want to, if it wasn't working. But I don't really want to tweak it. I know this one works, but let's say I want to put a little picture in here just to make it a little bit nicer. So I've got this option right here. I can say insert picture or video. Remember there was that embedded video earlier? I can make one of those as long as it's in an MOV format, or I can just put a picture in there. And I've got one saved in my desktop here, so I'm going to go through it. There's a little pizza dough that I downloaded from the internet, so I want to press open, and that drops that in there. And once I press back, it'll ask me if I want to save it. I say yes, and now I've got a nice little pizza dough picture on my pizza there, on my recipe. So that's good. The next thing I want to show you, and this is one of the last things here, is we're going to get into the tools. There's the ingredient list. There's a wine list. You can start, you know, if you have a wine cellar, you can start keeping track of it that way. You can get into yields and equivalents. So say I've got 3 cups of whole blanched almonds. I want to know how much it weighs. I click on that. Comes over here. It'll tell me that weighs a pound. So that's great, and you can adjust things in here a little bit, and it'll tell you how much they weigh. So that is really important because, you know, 3 cups of almonds weighs different than 3 cups of I don't know, sugar, for instance, because they all have different densities. So that's a really helpful tool. You've also got substitutions. So say somebody's got an allergy, I need to get rid of sugar. I'll put that in there. Now over here it'll say, oh, you can use molasses. So instead of a cup of sugar, you can use a 1/4 cup of molasses, and that's a substitution. It'll give you a disclaimer saying that it might not turn out the exact same way, but it's a helpful tool to use. Well, that's about it for this. I hope this has been informative and helps you navigate through this website a little bit, or sorry, this piece of software a little bit, and you can use it in the future for you know, all of your studies and for building your own database. So thanks a lot, and it's been a pleasure being in your class, Mr. Floyd.